Now, about 1,000 years ago, in the country of Mali, there was a city, Timbuktu. Timbuktu is still there. But 1,000 years ago, there was a university in Timbuktu. Scholars from all over the world, scholars from Asia, from Europe, everywhere came there to study. It was said by Leo Africanus in the 1400s that the king of Timbuktu, of that area, gave monies to scholars. Now, maybe we're seeing a case of the first scholarship there. I don't know. But it was also said by Ibn Battuta, an Arab explorer, that more monies were spent on manuscripts coming from the Barbary, manuscripts from Spain and about. More monies were spent there in that kind of trade than on anything else in Timbuktu. We hear the word Timbuktu and think immediately that it's a word made up to explain the difference or the distance between the known and the unknown. Timbuktu is still there today. Unfortunately, the biting sands of the Sahara have covered those walls of the old university, nearly covered them, and covered the streets where scholars used to go. But you can still go if you take your time and your money to go to Mali. At Ouagadougou, here, in Upper Volta. It's the capital of Upper Volta. Many people think the sounds are so un-Western. They hit our ears with a kind of strange feeling. Well, that's true. But the sounds sound like the languages of Africa, which are always rhythmic and certainly tonal. Now, it would be interesting, I think, for a student of African history to trace the Benin sculpture. The Benin sculpture in Nigeria has influenced European art. Modigliani, Braque, Picasso have admitted, I don't mean to imply that they had to admit, but they have said, in fact, that their art, that the new art that they devised in the early 1900s was influenced by the Benin and the Yoruba sculpture. The Yoruba are also in Nigeria.
Africa, a continent vast and vibrant. It holds stories that stretch back to the dawn of humanity. Many people think of pyramids pharaohs. They picture the Nile River wonders of Egypt. But this is only one chapter in an immense and epic book. Hidden deep within the continent's forests, golden sands are the ruins of other magnificent civilizations. These are Africa's lost cities. They were once thriving centers of power, wealth, incredible knowledge. Great Zimbabwe, Timbuktu, Benin City. But today, the stones and the sands are finally giving up their secrets. They are uncovering a past far more complex and awe-inspiring than imagined. This is a journey to rediscover those forgotten empires. We will travel back in time. Each city has a unique story to tell. The story of Africa is written not just in sand, but in stone, bronze, and the stars. Imagine a city made of stone, not with small, rough huts, towering walls, elegant conical towers. This was Great Zimbabwe. Its name means Great Houses of Stone in Shona. It was the capital of a vast kingdom flourishing in southern Africa from the 11th to the 15th centuries. Located in modern-day Zimbabwe, a masterpiece of engineering and architecture. The heart of an empire that stretched across a huge territory. The rulers controlled trade routes reaching the Indian Ocean. From there, their influence reached China-Persia, famous for massive stone walls. Astonishingly, they used no mortar or cement. Granite blocks were cut and shaped to fit perfectly. Dry stone walling demanded incredible skill and precision. The largest structure, the Great Enclosure Outer Wall, over 800 feet long and up to 36 feet high, a testament to the organizational power and architectural genius of the Shona people. The most shocking secret of Great Zimbabwe lies in its very existence. For over a century, colonial historians refused to believe that indigenous Africans could have constructed such a sophisticated city. They proposed that it must have been built by ancient Phoenicians, Arabs, or even the biblical Queen of Sheba. This racist theory was designed to deny the achievements of the local Shona people. However, modern archaeology has definitively proven that Great Zimbabwe was a purely African creation. The construction techniques, the layout of the city, and the artifacts found there all point to a local origin. The city is a powerful symbol of Africa's pre-colonial ingenuity and architectural brilliance. Another mind-blowing fact is hidden within the city's design. The conical tower, a mysterious solid stone structure standing 30 feet tall within the great enclosure, has baffled experts for generations. It has no doors, no windows, and no internal chambers. Its purpose remains a subject of intense debate. Some scholars believe it represents a royal granary, a symbol of the king's power to provide for his people and a sign of good harvests and prosperity. Others suggest it has a deeper astronomical or symbolic meaning. They were also skilled artisans. Archaeologists have discovered beautiful and intricate soapstone carvings, most famously the 8 Zimbabwe birds. They are a poignant reminder of the artistic and spiritual depth of the kingdom that created them. In the Western imagination, Timbuktu has long been a synonym for the most remote and mythical place on Earth. But Timbuktu was very real, and for centuries it was one of the world's most important centers of learning and commerce. Located on the southern edge of the Sahara near the Niger River in modern-day Mali, Timbuktu was a natural meeting point. It sat at crossroads for desert caravans connecting West Africa, North Africa, Europe, the Middle East. Founded around the 12th century as a seasonal camp for Tuareg nomads, it later grew into a legendary city. It rose under the Malian Empire and later under the Songhai Empire. The city's wealth came from 2 precious commodities, salt and gold. Salt was mined in the Sahara and so valuable it was traded for its weight in gold. Massive camel caravans carried slabs of salt to Timbuktu. They returned laden with West African gold. Timbuktu was the central marketplace for this exchange. Merchants from Cairo, Granada, Venice bargained with African traders in its markets. The trade made the city and its empires immensely wealthy. But Timbuktu was more than material riches. It became a major intellectual and spiritual capital, a beacon of Islamic scholarship. The great mosques of Djinguereber Sankore. The most mind-blowing secret of Timbuktu is not gold or salt, but paper. The city was a major center for the book trade. Scribes and scholars in Timbuktu produced copied, traded countless manuscripts. These books were often more valuable than any other commodity. They covered a vast range of subjects: law, medicine, astronomy, mathematics, philosophy, geography, poetry. This intellectual tradition created one of the greatest treasures in world history, the Timbuktu manuscripts. It is estimated that hundreds of thousands of these precious documents once existed in the city, forming vast private libraries, forming vast public libraries. This legacy turned Timbuktu into the intellectual capital of the medieval Islamic world. The story of how these manuscripts survived is, honestly, a modern-day thriller. But the most shocking secret is that the vast majority of the texts were saved. They were hidden in sacks. This heroic act saved a priceless piece of world history from destruction. Deep within the tropical rainforests of what is now southern Nigeria lay another great African metropolis, Benin City. From the 13th to the 19th century, it was the capital of the powerful Kingdom of Benin. This was a city renowned for its incredible art, complex political structure, sheer scale. Early European visitors in the 15th century were stunned. They described a massive, well-organized city, protected by immense earthen walls and moats. They compared it to the great cities of Europe, noting its wide, straight streets and impeccably clean houses. The city's defenses were one of its most astonishing features. The walls of Benin were a massive network of man-made earthworks. They consisted of a series of banks and ditches that enclosed the city and its surrounding farmlands. The total length of these walls has been estimated at an incredible 10,000 miles, even larger than the Great Wall of China by total length. This colossal undertaking demonstrates the immense power and organizational capacity of the Oba, the divine king of Benin. The walls were not just for defense. They were a massive land management project. The political and spiritual heart of the city was the Oba's palace. This was not a single building, but a sprawling complex of courtyards, galleries, chambers, decorated with the kingdom's most famous creations, the Benin bronzes. The most famous secret of Benin City is revealed in its art. The Benin bronzes are not just beautiful objects, they are historical documents. This collection of thousands of brass and bronze plaques, commemorative head sculptures, once decorated the Oba's palace. They were created by a specialist guild of artisans using the sophisticated lost wax casting technique. What is so shocking is that these artworks were not merely decorative, they were a complex system of record-keeping. In a society without a written language in the modern sense, these plaques served as a royal archive. They chronicled the kingdom's history, celebrated important events, depicted rulers and courtly life. One surprising fact, the bronzes show global connections. Many plaques depict Portuguese traders' soldiers. The Europeans are shown with distinctive clothing, long hair, aquiline noses, often carrying muskets. They appear as traders or mercenaries on the periphery, while the Oba remains central and largest. The story ends in tragedy. In 1897, a British punitive expedition looted and burned Benin City. The British soldiers looted the city and burned the palace to the ground. They stole thousands of the bronze and ivory artworks, which were then shipped to London, sold to museums and private collectors across the world. The decline of Africa's great cities was not caused by a single event, but by a complex web of internal pressures, external pressures. For Great Zimbabwe, the reasons were primarily environmental economic. The very success of the city led to its downfall. A large population put immense strain on the local environment. Deforestation for firewood, deforestation for construction, overgrazing by vast herds of cattle, soil erosion, environmental degradation. The land could no longer support the thousands who lived there. For Timbuktu, the fatal blow was military and political. Its golden age was shattered by the Moroccan invasion of 1591. The invaders wielded European firearms. The Songhai army fought with traditional weapons. The invaders easily defeated them. For Benin City, direct European intervention was its doom. The punitive expedition of 1897 was violent destruction. It abruptly ended the kingdom's independence and centuries of artistic and political tradition. The stories of Great Zimbabwe, Timbuktu, Benin City are more than just fascinating tales from a forgotten past. They are essential chapters in the history of Africa and the world. These cities challenge the outdated and damaging myth of a dark continent with no history of its own. They prove that for centuries, Africa was home to powerful empires, brilliant centers of learning, sophisticated cultures that were globally connected. The stone walls of Zimbabwe, the manuscripts of Timbuktu, the bronzes of Benin are testaments to incredible human achievement. They are monuments to African ingenuity, creativity, and resilience. The rediscovery of these cities has been a revelation. Modern archaeology and a more honest approach to history have peeled back the layers of myth and prejudice. We can now see these civilizations for what they were. Complex societies with organized governments, thriving economies, rich spiritual lives. The story is far from over. It is still being written.